These are the secret AI gadgets nobody is talking about, but they are already on Amazon, and a few of them are shockingly useful. Not the smart speakers everyone already owns. Not the robot vacuum that has been on every gift guide for 3 years running. The devices on this list are the ones doing genuinely interesting things right now that most people have not heard of yet. Quietly available on Amazon while most of the tech conversation happens elsewhere. A few of them cost less than a dinner out. One costs less than a streaming subscription for the year. All 15 do something real, saving time, removing friction, or adding a capability that did not exist in a home or pocket or workspace 5 years ago. The rule was simple. Every gadget had to do something genuinely useful, not just something impressive in a 30-second demonstration. Novelty without function got cut. What survived is a list of 15 devices that belong in the underrated category, each one doing something worth knowing about, most of them priced where trying them is a reasonable risk rather than a major commitment. Stay through number 1. It is the gadget that might change how you think about what useful technology is even supposed to look like. Number 15. The NVIDIA Jetson Nano Developer Kit. At around $99, the Jetson Nano is the entry point to running real AI models locally, on hardware you own and control, without a cloud subscription, without a monthly fee, and without any of your data leaving the device. It is a small single-board computer about the size of a deck of cards, built specifically for AI inference, running image recognition, object detection, natural language tasks, and custom machine learning models directly on the device itself. The reason it makes this list is not its raw capability, which is modest compared to what a full workstation can do. It makes this list because of what it represents: AI processing that is entirely local, private, and owned. For makers, tinkerers, educators, and anyone curious about how AI actually works under the surface rather than through an interface someone else designed, the Jetson Nano is the most accessible entry point available at this price. It is also the only device on this list that requires some technical willingness to use. But for the person who has that willingness, nothing else at $99 puts the same capability in hand. The projects people build on this hardware: security cameras that run their own models, robots that navigate without a server, custom voice assistants that never phone home are genuinely impressive. And all of it starts with a board small enough to hold in one palm. Number 14. The Google Coral USB Accelerator. At around $59, the Coral USB Accelerator is a small dongle that plugs into a computer or single board device and dramatically speeds up local AI inference. Specifically the kind of edge AI tasks that would otherwise strain a CPU or require a cloud connection to complete in reasonable time. What it does is add a dedicated tensor processing unit to whatever device it connects to, handling the computational heavy lifting of running trained machine learning models locally and fast. For a Raspberry Pi or a similar maker board running image classification or object detection tasks, the Coral Accelerator is the difference between a prototype that works in theory and one that works in practice, at real speed without lag. The reason it sits on this list is that it solves a problem most people do not know they have until they try to run AI locally and realize how slow the alternative is. Once that moment arrives, a $59 dongle that makes it actually viable starts to look like an extraordinary deal for anyone building smart cameras, home monitoring tools, or custom AI projects on budget hardware. This is one of the most efficient purchases available in the category. Number 13. The Intel Neural Compute Stick 2. At around $69, the Intel Neural Compute Stick 2 occupies a similar lane to the Coral Accelerator, but with its own ecosystem, its own supported frameworks, and its own particular strengths in certain deployment scenarios. Specifically those involving Intel's OpenVINO toolkit and edge inference pipelines designed around that environment. Plug it into a USB port on a computer or a developer board, and it offloads neural network inference from the main processor to its own dedicated hardware. That offloading is what matters. For vision tasks, anomaly detection, and lightweight natural language processing at the edge, it brings serious performance to hardware that would otherwise struggle with those workloads. For DIY builders and researchers who want to deploy AI in a portable or embedded form without cloud dependency, the Neural Compute Stick 2 is one of the most established tools in that specific category. It is not glamorous. It looks like a slightly large USB drive. But behind that unremarkable exterior is a device that has been quietly powering edge AI projects across industries for years. And at $69, the barrier to experimenting with it yourself is low enough that the reason not to try it is hard to articulate. Number 12. The OBSBot Tiny 2. At around $329, the OBSBot Tiny 2 is an AI-powered webcam with automatic subject tracking built in, meaning it follows the person in frame as they move, adjusts framing, locks onto faces and bodies, and maintains a professional composition without anyone operating a camera or adjusting a tripod mid-session. For content creators, remote workers, and anyone who presents or records video regularly. This eliminates the static locked-off shot that makes most webcam footage look like a surveillance feed. The Tiny 2 moves. It tracks. It keeps the person centered and well-framed automatically, handling in hardware what previously required either a dedicated camera operator or elaborate software workarounds that added latency and unreliability. The AI tracking is what separates it from a standard webcam upgrade. It is not just higher resolution and better low-light performance, though it has both. It is the intelligence to handle framing autonomously, which changes what solo video production actually looks like. For a solo creator without a production team, or a remote worker who wants their video calls to look genuinely professional without any setup effort, the Tiny 2 is the most practical AI camera available at this price. Number 11. The Eufy Security S330 with Bionic Mind AI. Priced in the range of $199 to $299. The Eufy Security S330 uses Eufy's Bionic Mind AI to do something most security cameras still cannot. It learns to recognize the specific people who belong in a space and distinguishes them reliably from strangers, delivery drivers, and anyone else passing through. The difference this creates in practice is significant. Instead of constant notifications every time anyone moves in frame, the camera learns over time which faces belong to the household and surfaces alerts only when someone unfamiliar appears. That shift from motion-triggered noise to genuinely meaningful alerts is the gap between a security camera that gets ignored and one that actually gets used. Local storage keeps the footage on device rather than in a cloud subscription, which is both a privacy advantage and a cost advantage over competitors with ongoing monthly fees. For anyone who has ever set up a security camera, spent a week watching it generate useless notifications about squirrels and delivery boxes, and then quietly turned off the alerts, the Bionic Mind AI is the specific solution to the specific problem that made those cameras feel more annoying than useful. Number 10. The Home iStudy M6 with AI Tracker. At around $229, the Home iStudy M6 is a smartphone gimbal with built-in AI subject tracking, meaning it physically rotates and adjusts to keep a moving subject in frame without any manual input from the person being filmed or the person holding the gimbal. For solo creators, travelers, and anyone who films themselves doing things without a second person behind the camera, this is the device that closes the gap between solo footage and footage that looks like it had a camera operator. The gimbal stabilizes the physical movement of the phone while the AI tracking handles the compositional work of following the subject. And the two systems together produce footage that looks intentional rather than accidental. The AI tracker responds to movement quickly enough to handle athletic activity, walking, gesturing, and active demonstrations without losing the subject or jerking awkwardly to catch up. At $229, it competes in a crowded gimbal market. But the combination of physical stabilization and intelligent subject tracking at this price makes it one of the stronger solo filming setups available without moving into dedicated camera equipment. Number 9. The Rabbit R1. At around $199, the Rabbit R1 is a pocket AI assistant designed around a different interaction model than a smartphone, a dedicated device. Roughly the size of a deck of cards, with a rotating camera and a physical scroll wheel built specifically for AI queries, voice interaction, and task execution without the context of a smartphone's apps and notifications. The large action model running it is designed to operate apps on behalf of the user rather than simply answering questions, booking things, ordering things, searching things, handling the multi-step processes that normally require navigating a phone interface manually. What makes it notable enough to sit on a list of underrated gadgets is not its current polish, which has been fairly criticized since launch, but its premise, the idea that the best AI assistant might not live inside a smartphone at all, but instead in a purpose-built device that does not carry the distraction load that smartphones carry by design. Whether that premise pays off fully or not, the Rabbit R1 is one of the few genuine attempts to rethink what a personal AI device looks like from the ground up, and for anyone curious about where that category is heading, it is a more interesting object than it appears in a thumbnail. Number 8. The Aqara Camera Hub G3. At around $99, the Aqara Camera Hub G3 combines a smart home hub with a security camera and gesture recognition in one device, running local AI processing for facial recognition and gesture-triggered automations without sending data to external servers for every interaction. The hub function is what elevates it above a standard camera. It connects to and controls Zigbee and other smart home devices directly, meaning it can trigger lights, locks, scenes, and routines based on who walks into frame or what gesture is made in front of it, all without an active internet connection required for the core logic to function. For anyone already building out a smart home ecosystem, the G3 adds a layer of local AI intelligence to the physical space that most hub and camera combinations still route through the cloud. For anyone starting a smart home setup and looking for hardware that consolidates functions without multiplying subscriptions, it is one of the more efficient single purchases available in the category at this price. Number 7. The Firewalla Gold Plus. At around $319, the Firewalla Gold Plus is a home network security device that runs continuous monitoring, intrusion detection, and smart traffic analysis for every device on a home network, giving visibility into what every connected device is doing at the network level and flagging anomalies before they become problems. The gap it fills is one most people do not know exists until something goes wrong. Home networks have become genuinely complex, with smart TVs, cameras, thermostats, speakers, and laptops all sharing the same connection. And most routers offer essentially no visibility into what those devices are doing or communicating with. Firewalla provides that visibility in a dashboard that is readable without technical expertise and blocks suspicious traffic automatically based on continuously updated threat intelligence. For anyone running a home office, a household with multiple smart home devices, or a setup where network security matters and depending on a router's default configuration feels insufficient, the Firewalla Gold Plus is the device that makes a home network behave more like a managed corporate network without requiring a dedicated IT department to interpret the output. Number 6. The PivoPod Silver. At around $99, the PivoPod Silver is a motorized rotating phone mount with AI subject tracking, built for solo content creation in the category of workout videos. Cooking content, equestrian training, and anything else where the creator needs the camera to follow them automatically without a second person on set. It connects to a companion app that handles the tracking logic, detecting the subject and sending rotation instructions to the pod, which then pans to follow at a speed calibrated to the type of movement selected. The tracking modes cover face tracking, body tracking, and activity-specific modes tuned for sports and movement-heavy content. At $99, it is one of the most accessible solo filming setups available for phone-based content creation. The tracking is not flawless at the edges of its range and with very fast movement. But for the vast majority of use cases, it handles the job well enough that it removes the fundamental problem of solo content. The camera stays where the creator was when they started, not where the creator actually is while doing the thing the video is supposed to show. Number 5. The X-Real Air 2 Ultra. At around $699. The X-Real Air 2 Ultra are augmented reality glasses that overlay digital displays over the physical world, offering up to 3 virtual screens in a wearable form that looks broadly similar to a large pair of sunglasses rather than a headset. The displays are bright enough to use in a wide range of lighting conditions, The tracking is precise enough for use as a portable monitor replacement. And the form factor is light enough for extended wear in a way that full headsets still cannot match. For travelers who want a large screen experience without carrying a monitor, for people who want to keep a private display in a shared environment, or for anyone building an AR workflow that does not require a full mixed reality headset. The Air 2 Ultra is the most practical option available at this price in this category. The underrated label applies here because AR glasses have been discussed as a near-future technology for so long that the fact that they now actually work in a form factor people can wear without significant awkwardness has not fully registered in the general tech conversation. These exist, they function, and the use case for a lightweight wearable display that connects to a phone or computer is more immediate than most people realize until they try one. Number 4. The Withings Body Scan. At around $499, the Withings Body Scan is a smart scale that goes significantly beyond weight measurement to produce segmental body composition analysis, breaking down muscle mass, fat distribution, and bone health by body region rather than producing a single aggregate number, along with vascular age estimation and nerve health assessment through sensors built into the scale's handle and platform. The data it surfaces connects to the Withings HealthMate app and, for compatible users, feeds into the broader Withings Health ecosystem that includes the ScanWatch and other devices. Used consistently, it builds a longitudinal health picture that a single doctor's visit or a basic scale cannot produce. Trends in muscle development by region, early signals of physiological change, and baselines that make future readings meaningful rather than isolated data points. At $499, it is the most expensive device in the lower half of this list. But for anyone who takes body composition and long-term health monitoring seriously, the segmental breakdown alone is a level of measurement that clinical body composition tools charged hundreds of dollars per session to produce not long ago. Having that capability standing in a bathroom at home and delivering a reading every morning is a meaningful shift in what personal health tracking actually looks like. Number 3. The TP-Link Tapo C425. At around $69, the Tapo C425 is a smart home security camera with AI-powered detection that distinguishes between people, vehicles, animals, and generic motion, sending targeted notifications rather than alerting on everything that crosses the frame. The image quality is genuinely strong for the price, with color night vision that handles low-light conditions better than cameras in this range typically do. The local storage option through a micro SD card means footage is available without a cloud subscription for basic review and playback, and the AI detection is accurate enough in practice to make the notification system useful rather than a source of constant dismissals. It sits at number 3 on this list because it represents something important: AI-enhanced hardware available at a price point where the argument against owning it becomes genuinely difficult to make. $69 for a camera that knows the difference between a person and a shadow, stores footage locally, and sends meaningful alerts when they are actually warranted is a price-to-capability ratio that would have been implausible even 3 years ago. For anyone who wants basic intelligent home monitoring without a subscription commitment or a significant hardware investment, this is the most efficient entry point on the list. Number 2. The Raspberry Pi AI Kit. At around $70, the Raspberry Pi AI Kit adds a dedicated AI accelerator to a Raspberry Pi 5, enabling local inference for vision models, object detection, and machine learning workloads at speeds that make real projects practical rather than just theoretical. The kit includes the Hilo 8L AI accelerator module and the Raspberry Pi M.2 Hat Plus, connecting to the Pi's PCI interface and delivering up to 13 tera operations per second of AI processing performance on a device small enough to build into almost anything. For makers, educators, researchers, and anyone who wants to build something that uses AI to perceive and respond to the physical world, the combination of a Raspberry Pi 5 and this kit is the most accessible, serious edge AI platform available at this price. The applications already built on this hardware span wildlife monitoring, cameras, production line inspection systems, accessible technology tools, and home automation projects that run entirely locally without any cloud dependency. At $70 for the AI component alone, the barrier to joining that category of builder is lower than it has ever been. Number 1. The Plod Note AI Voice Recorder. At around $159, the Plod Note AI Voice Recorder is a compact AI-powered recording device that magnetically attaches to a smartphone or can be carried independently. It records meetings, phone calls where legally permitted, lectures, and conversations, then automatically transcribes, summarizes, and organizes everything into searchable notes, helping users capture important information without writing anything down. It earns the top spot on this list not because it has the most futuristic design or the most advanced hardware, but because it solves a problem that affects millions of people every single day. Forgetting important details from conversations and meetings. Professionals, students, entrepreneurs, and creators constantly deal with information overload, and traditional note-taking often means dividing attention between listening and writing. Important ideas, action items, and decisions are easily missed, especially during long discussions or fast-moving meetings. Plod applies modern AI to transform raw audio into structured knowledge, identifying key points, summaries, and follow-up tasks automatically. Instead of spending extra time reviewing hours of recordings or handwritten notes, users receive organized information that can be searched, shared, and referenced whenever they need it. The result is a workflow that saves time while improving accuracy. Making the device valuable for anyone whose work depends on communication and information. That is the idea this entire list has been building toward. Not the gadget that demonstrates the most futuristic technology, but the one that removes the most everyday friction while delivering immediate practical value. At around $159 for an AI device that can save hours of work every week, the case for it makes itself. 15 gadgets. 1 shared theme. The most interesting AI technology right now is not always the most talked about. Some of it is sitting quietly on Amazon at a price that makes it easy to dismiss and easier to buy. The board that runs AI models entirely on its own. The camera that tells strangers apart from residents. The scale producing segmental body composition readings that clinics charged hundreds per session for. The conversation about AI focuses relentlessly on the biggest platforms and most expensive hardware. These 15 devices are what happens when that capability reaches the price points where most people actually buy things. And right now, that trickle has become something considerably faster. Every product is linked below. Prices change frequently, so check current listings before buying. Subscribe if you want to keep watching this space. The next wave is already arriving.